Challenge number 2 is creating an employee database or upgrading your employee database. Again, we started out with just a plain database, and we made it a little bit more robust by adding error handling. Now I want to add the ability to save. So I want to save to a file and load from a file. And there's a couple of things that you need to know about this. So the first thing that you need to know about this is that I've got some sample code for you to start with. And this sample code uses a module called Pickle. And Pickle gets its name not necessarily from the food, but from its ability to preserve things. So this module is quite useful because, let me indent these. Talking and typing at the same time is difficult. Okay, so there we go. Pickle is unique in that it allows me to save complex data structures directly to a text file. And it uses a binary encoding to do that, but I can still do it straight to a text file, and then I can load stuff out of a text file. So if I want to take this, remember how I told you if you wanted to save a data object or a data structure that you kind of had to reverse back out of it and glue it back together and kind of repiece it? You don't have to do that here. I can just take this, put it in the file, and then I can take the file and pull this right back out of it again. So I can, and it could be a big data structure, be super complex. It does not matter. So Pickle is really useful. And so you can see here, I've created a save data function and a load data function. They're super simple. You can see in the save data function, I am creating a file object using open, and I am using, that's the file name. And you can see here, I've got a new flag. Instead of just write, I've got WB. It does not stand for Warner Brothers. It stands for write binary. So we're writing in binary to a text file. And then when we're reading from the text file, we've got RB, okay, read binary. So the main piece here is pickle.dump. You're just dumping that stuff right into it. So this is the thing you want to put in the file. This is the file handle. That's it. Then you close the file, and then I just print a courtesy message that says it's saved. It's really that easy. I mean, you can see the writing itself takes 2 lines. Same for the reading itself. Okay, I am creating a file object, fpickle. I'm opening it, read binary, and then I'm using pickle.load to take that entire file, load it back into the object. It does not come in as text. It comes in as a complex data object. So this is already back to being a dictionary here, and that's it. And then I'm just returning that back to the program, and that's it. So let's save that data. So I'm going to use the save data to save this dictionary object. So when I run that, the data is saved. And here's my A11 pickle.txt. Should be A12 probably, but classes change over time. So if I open that file, look what I get. Okay, it's going to look like garbage. That's because we wrote to it in binary. So you're not going to, it's not the, that is the biggest downside of using Pickle, is that your text files are not human readable anymore. They're only readable by Pickle. So you save it with Pickle, you got to load it with Pickle. So this file is in binary. That's why it looks weird. Don't change it or anything like that, or it'll corrupt. So that data is saved. Now watch what I can do. I can take this, I can comment that out so that it no longer exists. and I just want to load the data into this variable and then print it out. So I'm just using this to load it from that file. You can see it's commented out, so I'm not cheating. If I run that, you can see right here, here's my dictionary object completely intact. It's super easy. So now, if I want to take this and apply it to my fruit database, okay, there's a few things that I need to do. The first thing I need to do is import my pickle object or my pickle library. So there's that. And I'm going to take these functions and I'm going to copy them into this. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, I could load that other file as a module, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna copy and paste those in. And A12 fruit, A12 fruit. That'll be the name of my file. So now, where and when do I want to load and save my fruit database? Well, when I start, I don't know if I have, like, at some point this has to be run for the very first time. And in that case, the file doesn't exist. So I have to see if the file's there. And if it is there, then I load from it. If not, then I create this basic starter database for the first time and save it. So that's my first task. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to come down here. Let's collapse all of these because I don't need to see what's inside them anymore. Here are all of my fun stuff. Okay, so here's my fruit stand. This is where I launched the program for the first time. So when I launch it for the first time, or every time I launch it, because I don't know if it's going to be the first time or not, what I want is I need to be able to check and see if the file exists. So I'm going to check and see if that file exists. And if not, I'm going to load from the database. So if os.path.exists a12 fruit.txt, okay, then I'm going to say load data. If that file exists, I'm going to load the data from that file. If it doesn't exist, then I'm going to create that database or create that data for the first time. And then I'm going to immediately save it. So save data, d fruit. Okay, so this really only applies the first time I run the program. So if it's the first time I run the program, this file won't exist yet. So I create the database and save it. And then every time I run the program after that, that file is going to exist and I'm just going to load the data from that file. Because I don't want to start over from scratch every time I run the program. That defeats the purpose. So that's the first place, is that initial running of the program. I need to make sure that the data is loaded if it needs to be loaded. Now, the other times that I would want to save my data is if I add fruit to the database or if I remove fruit from the database. And so all I'm going to do here is right before my return statement, hit save data, and inside my function, that structure is called dmain. Okay, same here. Inside that function, right before the return, save data, dmain. Now I don't have to load the data because I've already have data in memory. As long as I'm saving it every time I make a change to it, I'm in good shape. So that's really it. Once I have those save and load defined, I just put them strategically in the program, and I get it to handle what happens the first time we run, and we're in good shape. So I'm running this, and right now, a12fruit.txt does not exist. So this first time I run this, it should create it. And then after that, it's going to use the save data and load data. So let's run the program. Okay, so look. This indicates that the data has been saved, which means it correctly figured out that it was not there. The file didn't exist, and it created it. So let's look for it. Oddly, it should be there. Let's see. Interesting. I'm going to stop this. Oh, there it is, A12 fruit. I wonder, data loaded. You know why it didn't do that? Because I didn't close it. For some reason, that doesn't have pickle, fpickle.close. There we go. Save. Let's make sure the save data has it close in there. Should have worked. Okay. Data loaded this time. Okay, because it already exists. Let's. I'm going to delete that and run it for the first time one more time and see what happens. Data saved. Interestingly, it didn't show up in there. I think that's a PyCharm peculiarity, not an issue with my program. So if I list fruit, what's going on here? List fruit, D fruit, load data. Oh, return. That's right. That's why D fruit equals load data. My bad. Because I've got to make sure that in this first instance, it created the D fruit. So let's run that. There we go. Now it's working. So let's add a fruit. ID number FR4, pears, and $2.20. Okay, so fruit should be there. Now the big test, we're going to quit. We're going to rerun that code. And now when we list fruit, pears is in the data. So it saves it even after the code is stopped. So if we want to remove a fruit, let's remove apples, FR2. The apple was removed, data was saved, list fruit, it's gone. 4, we're going to quit. Let's run it again and list fruit. Okay, so apple's not there anymore. So it's for the amount of power we get in terms of our program, that's a pretty simple change in the code. Pickle is really nice to have. But those are sort of the three places where you need to think about loading and saving the data is when you first start the program, when should it load it versus when should it create something from scratch. And then when you're adding fruit and removing fruit, right before you return the object, you're going to save that object and you're in good shape. Okay, so those are the two file challenges.